Muy buenos dias, good morning. I hope you're staying well and focused on what you can control. My name is Patricia Mota, and I am currently serving as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing our community the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. And quick update to you all that are looking for a career transition, if you have not already registered to join us for the virtual career fair that's taking place next week on September 29th. It's free to attend. We have at least 35 employers that are seeking to network with you, to connect and get to know you. So make sure to check that out. The link is in the comment sections in the chat. So please make sure to register soon so that we can make sure that you are all set up and ready to go. Without further ado, I'm excited for today's guest as we continue to celebrate not only what HACE does with Cafecito con HACE, ensure that we're shining a light on leaders across the nation, but especially this month because we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm thrilled to have Dr. Fabio Lievano, I know we went through this a couple of times, who is a physician and epidemiologist serving as Vice President of Safety Science at AbbVie. Fabio, buenos dias. How are you today?
Buenos dias, Patricia. Mucho gusto having my cafecito here with a lot of milk and Colombian coffee, as you can imagine.
Colombian coffee. We have Leti, we have Jose, we have folks saying buenos dias. Let's hear from our guests. How do you like your cafecito? What are you drinking this morning? And Dr. Lievano, tell us about how do you like, you talked about your cafecito. You said lots of Colombian, and lots of
I like
milk.
it roasted. I like espresso, but I put a lot of milk. Like my mom used to prepare it to me like that back in Colombia, like this. And now I have it exactly that every day. I have more than 2 or 3 per day. And it's like, this is my favorite drink.
We have a lot of coffee drinkers in the house, myself included. Good morning, everyone. We got folks joining us from Arizona. We had folks from New Orleans, San Antonio. Buenos dias a todos. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a great Wednesday, a great morning, and a great Hispanic Heritage Month. Dr. Fabio, tell us about your cultural, your professional background, how someone from Colombian background, got to a role to where you are today, and critical, especially with the health field and everything that we've experienced the last couple of years.
Thank you, Patricia. Absolutely. I was born in Colombia some time ago. I will not say how long ago. And I studied for the first years there. And I have to tell you, since very early on, I dreamed to live in the United States. I used to go to bed and put a picture of New York next to my bed and thinking, one day I will be there. Well, for those facts of life and things, I became a physician, and it was not easy to become a physician. I tried first engineering, architecture, bacteriology, and then finally became a physician. It was not like I just went to become a physician. Then after being a physician, I became a surgeon. I'm a general surgeon. And after that, I decided I would like to do something more interesting. And well, I decided to take a job with the World Health Organization during the war in Bosnia, in the Balkans, back in the 1990s. And for those things of life, perhaps my enthusiasm, my passion, I was promoted to head of the office in Bosnia during the war. And I was there for 5 years. 5 years went so well for me. Although it was critical and difficult to live there, I learned a lot. And for the connections I made with other organizations during that war, I was connected to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who invited me to do a fellowship at the CDC. I came to the CDC in 1998 as an Epidemiology Intelligence Officer, those who went and investigate diseases like coronavirus, Ebola, things like that. I was one EIS officer in Atlanta. After 6 years at the CDC, I was working in bioterrorism. I was working in different things. I was interested to see okay, I'm working on vaccines. I would like to know how vaccines are made. And I opened the opportunity to work in the pharmaceutical sector. And I came to the pharmaceutical sector to a company that used to be called Aventis. And the same day I come to the company after interviewing for many other companies I'm seeing not too many times, the first day I arrived to the company is purchased by Sanofi. And I was like, oh my goodness, after all these years trying to enter the pharmaceutical industry, the first day I go to Aventis, Sanofi just took it over. Then I went to Merck. I worked for Merck for the 10 years, working on oncology, developing vaccines, and working on infectious diseases. And for the last 8 years, have been working at AbbVie in Chicago, in North Chicago, as the Vice President of Safety Science and Pharmacovigilance.
Wow, what a story. I love the picture that you talked about. I think a lot of us it's critical, and something that we preach at ASA is envisioning yourself there. And the fact that you said you would have a picture of New York and that you were envisioning yourself there in your career, right? The other key thing that I heard you say was about the curiosity, right? As you got into the field, you wanted to learn more and you were able to transition out to other areas. And most importantly, when things change on you, the opportunity that you had, or the agility, right, to be able to adapt and change along the way. So all critical skill sets for all of us to learn more about. So Dr. Lievano, tell us a little bit more about, because part of being in a career and all the transitions and all of the success that you've had in the field takes advocating for yourself, right? And I think that's something in our community that's a little bit tougher, being that we have such a strong cultural value of humility and modesty, and we don't feel comfortable tooting our own horn. But tell us, why is advocating for yourself important?
I think because only you can drive your career. When you drive your career, the managers or whoever is above you, you will see that you want to grow professionally. As Latino, I always like that people see the passion. I like everything I do. I have this kind of characteristics that I enjoy it. At the same time, I put all my effort to make it the best I can.
Yeah.
And I communicate that to my managers. I tell them I want to become the next level of management, what I need to do. It's important you tell your manager what you need to, what do you want to be, because the manager will tell you, if he's a good manager, that the steps that you need to take care. For example, maybe you need to take this training, maybe you need to do this shadowing or this opportunity on leading. Or, as I always say, take the most difficult job that you can be asked, because if you succeed, now you are in the next step moving your career ahead. Understand that nobody get it the next day. I mean, that's important. I tell young generations that sometimes things take time, that you can apply maybe 1, 2, 3, 10 times to something, and you never get it. Last night I was watching a documentary about the people that went to the space station, and one of them said that she applied 10 times, and that everybody was telling her, do not apply anymore, please, don't waste your time. At the 10th time, she got it, and she went to the space station. Is one of the women who has been the longest there for a year almost. Wow. Then you can see it's trying many times. It's showing your manager your passion. For example, I mentioned I went to Bosnia, and honestly, I became the head of the office because I was so interested to do good, presenting, doing things that my manager liked, being in the presence of the manager, be taking risk. It was a personal risk because it was war, but also professional risk, because if you imagine you are a surgeon, you go to Bosnia, you are risking everything. And I did that, open that opportunity nobody wants to open. I said that so many times to the people that work with me. The opportunity that nobody wants to take, this is the one Latinos we should take, because if we are successful, we are the next step of our career.
Lots of great points there. And I think that you talked a lot about the working hard, right? And being able to leverage that, but also making sure that we're shifting to advocate, right? To making sure we're speaking up and saying, this is the next opportunity. This is what I'm interested. This is what I'm willing to do, all at the same time, and getting comfortable with it, right? And I know Melinda is talking about that's definitely important. But what advice I think we hear a lot is, what do I need to do to advocate for myself? What are some key strategies? Because I'm just not comfortable doing it. Like we hear it time and time again at ASE. And so what key strategies do you recommend for folks who are saying, I'm having a difficult time? And you all have your questions and your comments. We want to hear you in the chat. We have a Latino who's been at the WHO. We all heard of the World Health Organization the last couple of years. We've heard of the CDC time again, and in such a critical role. And I know, Dr. Lievano, just by being here, you're inspiring others, right? They're looking in a career, that are looking to get, perhaps students that are looking to get into the healthcare space. And so what strategies do folks take and consider?
I think important is to know your brand. And everybody has a brand. I like that Latinos nowadays, we can say ourselves, we're very proud to say I'm Latino. My first language is not English, was Spanish, of course, and my second language was French. My third language is English. Then being that, embracing who you are, embracing your accent, embrace it, embrace your culture, who are your parents and your brothers, embrace what you represent. Nowadays, we live in a very fortunate situation that things are changing, that we can really embrace. Then it's important that you build your brand. This is my brand. This is, let's say, Dr. Lievano. Yes, he has a strong accent because he never learned proper English, but yet he writes books, and yet he writes a lot of scientific publications. Your brand is that. When you speak with an accent, people pay more attention. People really pay attention what you say. Then people is listening to you more. Understand what are your strengths as well. Not only your gaps. What are my strengths? Medicine or epidemiology, combination of both. Work in Bosnia. Why, when I was in Bosnia, was promoted? The reason was that I was from Colombia. And in Colombia, we have a lot of needs of resources. Working as a doctor, we needed resources to go to the field and do surgery. When I went to Bosnia, I just applied that. I was like, for me, I was trained before to work with scarce, very few resources and maximizing the opportunity of the physicians that we have there during the war. For that, I was promoted because I have ingenuity, because I was also, don't be afraid to show up. You see, that's important. Nowadays, we should be able to present ourselves in front of the executives and say, I have a very good idea, and I would like that we implement it and disseminate the idea and make it successful. Then that's the need, the legwork, your strength, what are your limitations, and work on your limitations. I have taken so many courses of English, you cannot imagine, a lot. Even when I came to AbbVie, I have to take some, because now I was leading a very large group. I'm not afraid to say that, because that's my limitation. But I have a lot of advantages. I can dance salsa very well, for example. I embrace my culture, and I am not afraid to do so. Then I think have your story ready. What do you want to do? You know, every year on the 31st of December in Colombia, we celebrate the new year with eating grapes, green grapes, one for each month. And for each one, we ask for like a wish. Well, now what I do is I write my wish. And I write it in the telephone, in the notes. That means they cannot disappear. And these are my wishes. Then you can assess how the year is going by just looking at your wishes from last year and see what you need to do. That's the legwork, that's the plan of action, that's how you have to manage your career. Where do you want to be next year? And if you feel that you are in the same place and that if you feel they're doing the job very, very well and it's actually boring, you are wasting your time, because actually you should be moving up. This legwork is the one that you should be doing.
Wow, lots of great pointers there. And I hope you all are taking notes over there, tuning in. We want to hear from you. I'm sure a lot of this is resonating. If there's a question or two that we can answer at the end, if not, we're going to make sure that you get connected to Dr. Lievano on LinkedIn as well, and be able to connect with him as well. I heard a couple of things in terms of the positive mindset, which I think is so critical, embracing your culture that Esther mentioned. And I've never heard it spun this way, but it's when you talk, we hear a lot of from folks about being troubled because of their accent and feeling that they're being judged. But I love that you said that they're listening to you more. That's true, right? And that's for me kind of the spin on being the positive mindset. Secondly, being an avid learner and not being afraid to say, I need to learn a little bit more. Let me take a course. Let me ask questions, right? And then thirdly, I heard about writing it down. You talked about the New Year celebration. Everybody in their own cultures have their own ways. But if you're writing it down and making sure that it's something that you're reviewing often and checking in to hold yourself accountable. Am I achieving these goals that I set forth? It's critical to ensure that we're doing that. And you got some thank you. Diana's thanking you for the inspirational message. A lot of great points here. What are some of the key indicators that let us know that, hey, we're being effective in advocating for ourselves?
I think some of these key indicators are you can perceive them. They are looking at you. They are asking you for your comment, and then you provide your comment. They are listening to your opinions. They ask for your name, and always also use the opportunity to provide a very thorough, clear comment. Also use your opportunity to sometimes embrace your culture. Sometimes, and not that I don't have used that, but sometimes I use, when I was in Colombia, we used to do it like this. Then that kid perspective, diversity is important. Different experiences are important for companies nowadays. They don't want to hit the same flavor. They want the coffee from Colombia, but also the Costa Rican coffee is good. Also, maybe try the Hawaiian. What about the one from Vietnam? Try different opinions. Then you check with your manager and present your ideas. Make sure that you are being listened to, that you are not interrupted, and the same, pay attention to what people are saying, provide thorough comments. Those are good strategies for advocating for yourself, and that be seen and in this environment.
Amazing. If you are being asked for your input, if you are being, included and being the go-to person, you know that you're doing a good job with your brand, right? Advocating for yourself, because that's coming back in those ways. And you mentioned a lot about culture. We heard it in the chat. We have time maybe for one question if anybody wants to be able to ask a question from Dr. Fabio here. And we've got comments in terms of ads saying successful and proud. We can fit in and still not forget who we are. It's great to look at who we've become as a person and as people. And I think, Dr. Lievano, to your point earlier, now is the time to really leverage our unique cultural backgrounds, our unique experiences, because that's wanted more than ever before. And so we have to not be afraid to show up with who we are, right, and what we represent. And so I think, especially during Hispanic Heritage Month, we want to embrace that, because we are so diverse, and being that we are such a diverse community, it's an opportunity to build more inclusive spaces for everyone by being who you truly are and leveraging what you bring to the table.
If I can comment, Patricia, I was researching about the Hispanic Heritage Month. It was launched in 1988 by President Reagan, starting September 16th. I want to remind to everybody, the Hispanics right now are 20% of the population, 65 million in the US. 1 in 5 of the people you see are Hispanic in the whole US. And by 2040, we will be the majority. Then this is our time. We have to, we have fears, but we have to do something about it. We have to go through, because we are going to be leading this country very soon. Then important to recognize that, and recognize and celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month. One thing I wanted to say about the effective strategies to advocate for yourself: advocate for others, not just for yourself. other Latinos who need your help, other people from other nationalities as well. That will help you as well.
Wonderful. And so on that, we've got about a minute left. What are you most hopeful for, or a positive story that gives you hope for this year?
I think one of the most positive has been that perhaps we are defeating the pandemic, and that despite the 2 years that were really tough for humanity, in which we were living under difficult conditions, we are coming back. I'm hopeful that now we can be working and seeing each other, celebrating, dancing together. I'm hoping of that. That's something to celebrate. The Hispanic Heritage Month is also to celebrate all our wins. We have a Supreme Court judge. We have astronauts. We have scientists, finance people, CEOs. We Latinos are so relevant, like never before. I tell that to my kids. You will be successful just because you are Latino, but you have to embrace it and you have to work on it.
You have to embrace it and you have to work on it. Thank you for being our source of inspiration this morning. Everyone in the chat, continue to engage. We'll make sure that you will share Dr. Fabio Lievano's LinkedIn and continue to engage with him. Thank you for your time, your insights, and to everyone joining us. Hasta la próxima. Until next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.